Hello, my name is Guillaume Dubost. I am the chairman of Agora Erasmus, the larouche-organisation in Belgium. Behind me you can see the Federal Parliament. 2013 has to be the year of a global Glass-Steagall. In Belgium, as in many countries, this idea of a strict separation between deposit banks and investment banks is debated at the highest level. But still, actions need to be taken. Since the spring of 2010, several draft legislation were introduced in this parliament by members of the Green Party. The last one, from Georges Quinet and others, is still waiting in the Finance Commission. A year ago, the newly formed government, headed by Elliot Giroupeau, officially asked the Belgian National Bank to study the feasibility of such a banking reform. 6 months later, the only answer was Belgium cannot do it alone. But, as Deputy John Crombez said at that time, the question is how to do it, not if it can be done. 5 months ago, an interesting development took place with the interview of the Prime Minister Elliot Giroupeau in the newspaper La Libre-Belgique. He started to recall that the too big to fail banks still represent a very dangerous burden for the states and their taxpayers. That there is a demand in many countries like the US to break up the banks between deposit banks and investment banks, and that himself is convinced it has to be done. As you can imagine, banking lobbies were furious, using fallacious arguments and threats against such intention. For example, Philippe Dierks, chairman of the Belgian Banking Federation, declared that such a reform would reduce the financing of the real economy. But, as many entrepreneurs know, the credit is already non-existent. Interesting coincidence, Dierks was charged 2 months ago with fraud, forgery and manipulation of stocks for the time he was CEO at Fortis Bank and just before the bank went bankrupt. On the other side, in support of the Giroupeau, many voices publicly defended this idea of a Glass-Steagall banking separation. For example, the professor of economics, Paul de Gros, and Olivier Marquet, CEO of the Triodos Bank in Belgium. In this context, Agora Erasmus, continuing its fight for a global Glass-Steagall, launched a new campaign in the entire nation. In Brussels, Antwerp, Namur, and other cities, we distributed several thousand leaflets calling the population to support the Prime Minister in this issue and to pressure the members of Parliament to update and vote on the draft proposal waiting in the Parliament. So, in Belgium, there is a potential for a Glass-Steagall reform, and Agora Erasmus will continue its fight to make it reality. In Brussels, it was Guillaume Dubost.